And may I say that fear trembles in the presence of love. And that's why the fire is love. How many of you have felt that fire sometimes? Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. So recently I had lunch with a friend, and out of the blue she said, "So what do you see for the Center for Spiritual Living?" And when somebody asks you a question like that, you have to answer like what's in your gut, what's really there, because I didn't have time to become eloquent and make it all make sense. So I actually had some empathy for Ernest Holmes, who when asked, "So what's this thing you're doing? What's this thing you're teaching? And can you say it in 50 words or less?" Because he'd written book after book after book. How many of you have read a lot of books? And, how many of you have taken an Emma Curtis Hopkins class and just said, "What the is she teaching?" That's why you need an interpreter. I mean, really, I'm like an Emma whisperer. Anyway. So I love it. Ernest Holmes boiled down what we do, what we teach, our philosophy, the foundation of this center. He said it's a synthesis of the discoveries of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelations of religion. The revelations, not the opinions of religions, because that would be wild. Put that together. A little evangelical Christianity and Buddhist. I mean, it'd be wild. Anyway, but the revelations of religions used for human needs and aspirations. So it's not like just put it together so you can have a good coffee clatch, and talk about, yes, and these fit with these things. No, can it be used in my life today? That's what this is about. This is what this is about. So I have so much respect for him, that he was so in touch with his own teaching that it could just come out of him. Like my name's Kathianne Lewis, and I live on a ranchette with 5 acres, 3 horses, 1 dog, and a cat. I mean, it's just that kind of thing. So what I said, and it kind of rolled out of me, what do I see for CSL? I see that it provides spiritual tools and techniques readily available for a wide variety of folks, not dependent upon location, that includes you, my dears, or financial ability. Because there's a lot of great technology out of there, and for only $2,000 or $3,000 a weekend, you too can get it. I mean, how many have done it? Yeah, only one. The rest of the people shaking their heads didn't want to raise their hands. Good for you. So anyway, because we think if we pay more, we get more. And yet I got an email recently from a wonderful gentleman who's been a part of our congregation for a long time. And he said, I went and did this weekend, and I spent this money, and it's the same thing CSL teaches. It's condensed, but it's the same thing. There's, truth is truth, is truth, is truth. So what I want to do is make sure that it's accessible. And so I'm very grateful that you can come here forever and ever, and there's never a ticket to get in. I am really grateful that there's a bunch of people who make this possible, and you know who you are, because it's not possible without some of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And in essence, and then I said in essence, and it just came out of my mouth, it's like, I want to make the world a better place, one soul at a time, one obstacle at a time, one challenge at a time, one aha at a time. And the world gets better and better and better. And that's what I want. That's what I want. And short term, what that, I'm sorry, somebody warned me not to have Diet Coke. They said, Kathianne, you have a Diet Coke. What will that do to second service? And I now realize I'll slow my speech down a tiny bit. But I am kind of excited. Short term, what that means is that I hope that every time you leave a service, a class, a small group, an offering of any kind, you feel a little bit better about you. And you feel a little bit better about the possibilities that you can walk into and live into. and that you feel a little more optimistic about what's possible in the world. Because if you're not optimistic about your own life, you cannot be optimistic about the world. That's just the way it is. People who are stuck see a stuck world, and they see nothing changing. But the more you change, the more you evolve, the more you wake up, the more you see the possibility of that in the big scheme of things. So if you wake up, you become the alarm clock for others. Yippee-ki-yay. That's yippee-ki-yay. That's, which leads me to the long term. Short term, you're better after you leave. Long term, we realize our ability to co-create a world we love. Not make it so, but to co-create it with Spirit. And something shifts, which will take spiritual power. You know, the Force is a good idea in Star Wars, which I absolutely loved. But Force doesn't really change things. It just rearranges things. This series of talks in May is dedicated to this book, Power versus Force. Power, spiritual power, not ego force, can make the world the way we want it to be. Not make it. We won't make anything. That's a force word. I'm going to make it so. No, we'll watch it happen. So let's become acquainted with power versus force. It is our May theme. The May theme is finding our strength within, discovering our own power. Could you hand me my cell phone? Yeah, great. Oh, and that, I got it. Yeah, no. Yeah. So I'm not going to go over the first quarter of this book, the first 25% of the book, because it talks about how David R. Hawkins came to what he came up with, which is a calibration of consciousness. But you have it, right? Yeah, everybody got your thing? I'm not going to go over that, but I believe that the method that he used and the 20 years of process and research that he went through to come up with what's in this book and on that graph that you have, it works for me, so I'm sharing it. I don't share things that don't work for me. I try them out myself. But let's just simplify things. Oh, there I am. Here. This is my Vanna moment. You'll notice that there's a line here, and on your graph, you'll notice a line. Everything from below the line is destructive, ego-based, and these are considered negative and energy-draining states. So if you're in a state of regret, you don't have a lot of power. You don't have a lot of energy. It's not healthy for you or the people around you. And, oh, look at me. I've never done this before. I feel so, something. Anyway, what that is we're seeing with that line that I was pointing out, two pulls, like gravity pulls. Below the line is the gravity pull of the ego. And the ego is all about survival. And the ego is not wrong. I'm coming to the place, if it's all God, then so too is the ego. It's just sometimes it misplaces its part of creation. See, we had to have an ego to survive when we were first evolving as Homo sapiens. If you didn't have an ego and you didn't have a huge survival instinct, you weren't going to make it, and there would be nothing to evolve afterwards. Because there had to be something within you that wanted to live so bad that human beings without good claws, no real running ability, and teeth that were worthless in a fight would survive. It was this pull, this urge to survive that made humans band together, that made humans figure out things. It was survival. It was good. The ego has a perfect place in the scheme of things. That's my belief, because I believe all's God. But then if the ego continually comes from a fear-based, I must survive type of pull on human beings, pull on me, then what I'm going to do is I will always be pulled to the comfort of even my suffering, because the ego likes what's normal, and what's normal is suffering in some way, shape, or form. In some way, shape, or form, the evidence is in. There's too many studies that say people who win the lottery 2 years later, they're broke. When I used to teach Beyond Limits, I would watch this. It went like this. This works. Oh, this is scary. Wow, that's weird. Miracle. Ooh, this doesn't feel right. How many were there when you first started out? Ooh. This is spirit saying you can. This is ego saying we better not, because I know how to handle this. Let's just stay comfortable, even if comfortable is miserable. So the ego will pull us into staying the same and staying small, and the spirit, which is love, which is truth, which is presence, will continue to say no, 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 and continue to pull and continue to pull. Teilhard de Chardin said that love was the gravity of God pulling all creation back to itself. Whoa. And the pull from the ego is only trying to survive, to do what it knows how to do, which is protect us, which is don't stand out, or stand out. Look good, gain approval, be in control, overcome, show off. How many of you have been in those stages? It's called being a teenager. And yet, we're supposed to grow out of that. But some people get stuck, and they're still doing it. Unfortunately, with that trying to force conditions instead of letting the power of love lift us, we experience scorn and hate, anxiety, regret, despair, blame, humiliation. Ooh, how many of you kind of relate to that? How many of you see that in our world? In our world, there's a whole lot of blaming going on. There's a whole lot of despising and despair going on. There's a whole lot of regret, anxiety, hate. Wah! And it's like, and we can't, I love it. The ego thinks we can make some laws and make them stop it. We've never been able to make a law that makes anybody stop anything, because consciousness will always will out and look for a way to get through stuff. That's trickle down. No, grassroots spirit up. That's what I think I want to get to this month, is let love lift us up. Now, above the 200s, the pull will be for of the spirit towards enlightenment. Towards enlightenment. The Buddha said that the Buddha, and this was thousands of years ago, so let's just give it a break. It may have changed. But in Buddha's time, supposedly he said, there's not that many people that even hear of enlightenment, but if you hear of enlightenment, guess what? You've just heard the word. Enlightenment. If you even hear the word of enlightenment, it means that you're on the path of enlightenment. So if you thought you were here just to get the potluck, yeah, God's got plans for you. Now, it may not be easy enlightenment. You might go kicking and screaming, but guess what? You're on the path, according to the Buddha. He also said that if you then choose to pursue enlightenment, not just hear of it, but then pursue it, then your path becomes easier, but it won't be easy. It's not easy to give up the pull of the ego. It's not easy to not despise people who are not like you. Now, I know you're here and you're all prayed up and sung up and feeling good, but then you're going to read something. And the pull will be there. You're going to be challenged to become a better person, and then you're going to go, I don't know if I can. According to, I love it, this is some chutzpah. According to David R Hawkins, just by looking at the map that's on your lap, you will progress in your journey towards enlightenment. Just by reviewing it. And I've been doing this really some serious study since January, when I looked at the world and I thought, force. Forcing. You're wrong. How'd you, meh, like little cats. Anyway, I mean, let's just make them all kitty faces. Wouldn't it be better? Really? Then we could at least see what's happening and laugh. And I thought, we need a little spiritual power here. Because make wrong's not working. But when we decide that we're going to really let Spirit start acting in our life, we will start to feel the pull of Spirit. It's the pull. And love is the healing of hurts. And there's some hurts. I mean, if we're looking at this, regret hurts. Anxiety hurts. Craving hurts, doesn't it? And yet I believe that desire is a holy, holy thing that allows our heart to move towards God. But if we mismanage desire, it becomes a craving. And then it has us instead of us having it. And love heals all of that. Love is the healer, a magic, wonderful power. It has the ability to be with us even in our darkest times. And that's why David could write in a psalm, even though I am in the depths of hell, thou art with me always. Come on. So some of you may be wondering, how do I allow that power to lift me up? Well, first of all, it is. We're just pulled and then walk back. But the pull is always there, and we surrender to the pull, I believe, partly by what David R Hawkins said, and just partly by watching people make breakthroughs. And it seems like the most powerful way to be in alignment with the pull of Spirit instead of the pull of our ego is to simply practice the presence of God. Isn't that simple? And then the mind and the ego goes, let's have some complication. What about? That's too easy. So that's like fear? No. The ego is, no, it's too simple. Let's do some chants and some incartations. Then we'll have some initiations and secret handshakes. And then they got to do this, and then they got to walk this way. Let's make it really complicated. Because then it would be significant. And significant to the ego is better than simplicity. That's why I love teaching Emma Curtis Hopkins, because, man, that is super, super spiritual stuff. But even though she goes on and on and on and on, she's only saying one thing per chapter. And it's simple. Name your good. Almost said something. just name it. Okay, so how would we contemplate the presence of God? How do we do it? Let's just make it simple. First of all, the most simple way I've done it is when I'm in a conundrum, when I can't get out of my grief, when I can't get out of my hate, when I can't get out of my stuff, and yes, I have stuff, I simply look up. And I cannot look up 45 degrees and not have that stuff just fall away. It's a mystical teaching from a mystical time, and it is so powerful. But it's not the only thing. You can also dance. You can do ecstatic dancing, and pretty soon you become the dance, and all of that stuff that you've been contemplating falls away. It's just being present. Anytime you're present, you're going to have a spiritual experience of some sort of another. You may not recognize it. People may not recognize it as spiritual. But when you only know here and now, that's a spiritual experience, because guess what? That is what God is. As Rabbi Shapiro would say, God is what's happening now, in the now. So anytime that puts you in the now is a powerful thing. Chanting, praying, reaching out to something greater than yourself, and knowing that that greater than yourself starts to pray you. How many of you have had the experience of starting to pray and all of a sudden you know you're being prayed? I should see some hands. You're just like, it prays, something prays. You're not causing anything to happen. You are watching the evolution of your soul, and you're conscious to it. Reach out. Ask for help. The ego doesn't like asking for help. You want to flub up the ego's idea about what you should do any given day? Ask for some help. Also, osmosis, which is, I think, reaching out in osmosis is one of the reasons why the 12-step program is so powerful. Because you just get it by being in the presence of other people that are doing the same thing, that are saying, you know what, guess what? My ego has run amok, and I am powerless over this, or this. But I know there's something greater than me, and I'm going to start incorporating that into my life. And if they believe it and they're speaking it by osmosis, you get it. How many times have you been here and not believed a word I said? But you leave feeling better. Really? You know, I used to teach Emma Curtis Hopkins, and I love teaching her because she goes all over the place. And people would say, I don't understand it, I don't get it, I don't even like her. They would talk about throwing the book. But they would show up every time I taught the class. 4 or 5 times, and they'd say, I don't understand this doesn't make any sense, but my life is better. Sign me up. That's osmosis. That's by being in the presence of other people on that journey of enlightenment that people signed up to be involved in. Some people don't want enlightenment, at least they don't know it yet. But if God is pulling us, if love is pulling us, if truth is pulling us, we're all going to be caught in the vortex eventually. It's like the black hole of God. You keep getting close to truth, and pretty soon, I can't help it. Oh, love, nothing can stop love. I got an email from, well, it wasn't an email, it's on my Facebook page. Someone sent me a story about themselves and how they want to do something greater in their life, and they went back to something that they learned by working with me and one of my horses, and it was about being present. And the gentleman showed up, and you can look at it, it's on Facebook, so it's Frank Selden. Who remembers Frank Selden? Frank Selden was at one time, they didn't even know what was happening, but he would sometimes have no energy to even move. He didn't even know what it was. He couldn't move. And he came to my place, and he wanted to work with my horses, and he could barely walk into the arena. And then I set him up with Susie Q. He knew her name. He remembered her name, Susie Q. And he got the energy from her, and then he had to focus on her, and if he focused on her, she wanted to be with him. When he was present to her, she wanted to be with him. When he would shift and look someplace else, she's like, I'm not with you. And you know how big the arena is, some of you know, and he kept walking around the arena, and every time she would stop and not want to be with him, I'd say, where is your mind? And he said, oh, yeah, I was looking at that tree. Put your attention. When he was present with her, she was with him. And by being present, his energy kept coming back. And as he said on my Facebook page, they walked around the arena, she was with him, and by the last lap, which is quite large, he ran with her. By the way, this is without any bridle or halter. She is just present to him, running with him. and he ran around the arena with full strength. That's what presence does. Love is a healing power. God is love. Love heals. Love provides. Love does it. And love even is so powerful, it works all sorts of wonderful things on this graph, even below. If any of you have ever, let's just talk about pride. Pride, doesn't that seem like a great thing? Yeah, I'm proud. What can happen, though, is proud because I'm right, which means the people that believe the way I believe, I'm proud of them. But then there's you, because you're not like me. Wow, do you see in our country how pride is a dividing factor? Because we can't cooperate or listen because I am so right. That means you must be so wrong. Whew. So this is what love does. Love can show up in the midst of our shame because we're practicing presence, because we're around people that know presence, just even by osmosis. And shame, in the midst of shame, love helps us remember that we were created innocent. It's a revelation. Love leads us into forgiveness instead of guilt. Love allows our grief to become a symbol of how much we once loved. My friend Bo Lazov said, grief is just love with a bad reputation. It's just love. Anxiety is alleviated because we have a sense that something will turn out okay. Hate becomes, I don't agree, but I'm not against. And pride goes from scorn and demanding, to something more beautiful. We think that pride is a high calling, and it is the high of the low, by the way. So if you're proud, good, you're very high in that low state. But here's what's even better. Spirit reveals your dignity. We can't climb this by ourselves, by the way. You're going to look at this, and it will encourage you to see when you're in any given state. But we can't climb out of this ourselves. You know what will happen? Eventually, we'll have our own 12-step moment, and we'll surrender. And love will lift us up. And we'll lift up. And we'll fall, and we'll be lifted up. And we'll fall, and we'll be lifted up. And God will never stop lifting, because God is constant. We, on the other hand, more on this the rest of the month. I hope to see you again. Bye for now.